So it's an absolute pleasure to have one of the biggest names in international squash, India's legendary player Saurav Ghoshal with us for a nice freewheeling chat. First of all, a very warm welcome to you, Saurav. It has been an absolute pleasure watching you in these games and beforehand.
Thank you very much for having me. I'm really happy to be here.
I want to begin with the 2028 Olympics, and because squash has been included, and I saw some interviews with you and the youngsters who were all very ecstatic. What does it mean to you personally as a player, and where can this take the game professionally?
I think personally, for me as a player, it's something that we've always wanted to do. The Olympics has been like this elusive games which we've never kind of made it to. Ever since you've been young, you watch the Olympics and you see some unbelievable feats of sport, and it's just been something that we wish we could be part of that and have an opportunity to showcase what we're all about. Now that is a possibility. For me personally, I don't know yet if that's a possibility because obviously I'm 37 right now, and by the time the Olympics comes around in LA in 28, I'm going to be almost 42. So it's a decision that I kind of have to sit down with my team and my family and myself eventually to see if I can actually push it till then and have a realistic shot at winning a medal. Regarding professional squash, I think it goes really well with the kind of the Olympism ideals of excellence, friendship, and respect. Integrity, inclusivity, and innovation underpins professional squash and world squash's strategy. And I think it's going to really, really help us grow to a lot more markets around the world. Get in a lot more kids playing the game because you have a tangible kind of end point or goal in terms of the Olympics, and that is the pinnacle of world sport. Being in the Olympics is something which every kid I think will dream of, being an Olympian and obviously winning a medal for your country at a games like the Olympics is the ultimate source of pride. So I'm sure that this is going to give a massive impetus to the sport, not just in India at the grassroots level, but I think all over the world. And we're going to see a lot more squash players coming out of a lot more corners in the world.
You've been playing competitive squash from the age of 16, I believe. And
Yes, yeah, I joined the professional tour when I was 16. If you have to be one of the top juniors in the world, you have to be playing some of the professional tournaments to kind of get used to that professionalism and understand what it takes to be the best at the very top. So yeah, it started at 16. It's been a while, and time has flown in some ways. Time has been slow in some other ways, but I think overall it's been a journey which I am so privileged to have taken, to have been given this opportunity to do what I'm doing, something that I really, really love, because you can't do it for so long if you don't love it. Of course, there are phases where you don't love it as much, but overall, it's something that has given me a lot, and I'm totally indebted and grateful for that opportunity.
listening to the commentary while you were playing this time in the at the Asian Games, there were at least a senior Hindi commentator whom I know personally, old friend of mine, and the others who kept complimenting you कि उनको देख के लगता ही नहीं है कि वो 37 है, कैसे कमाल का fitness है. So for a lot of youngsters who look up to you because you are this iconic figure in India and your name is associated with top level squash. You went pro. So how do you maintain this level of fitness and what does it take? How many hours of training? What is the kind of nutrition? They would all want to know from you.
Yeah, look, I mean, first and foremost, keeping it simple, it takes a lot of hard work. There's no kind of substitute for that. But at the same time, it's not just about the quantity, but it's also about the quality of hard work that you put in. And I think in that sense, I've been working with my physical trainer, Damon Lee Dale Brown, who's an Englishman living in Philadelphia now for the last 10 years. And every summer, which is our off season in the squash world, we kind of sit down and figure out what are the things that we really need to work on. Two or three things which we feel is going to make the biggest difference in terms of the physicality, and then we try and figure out how we can do those things with having the least impact on the joints in the body, because squash is a very high kind of impact on the joints, whilst you're playing. So we want to try and minimize that when we're doing stuff off the court, and we try and be creative and come up with ways which are gonna help me as much as possible. There's a lot of trial and error involved, and you have to have an open mind, when you're doing these things, and you have to persevere. These things don't happen overnight. There are a lot of sessions that you need to kind of keep doing to kind of get the necessary reward from it. But yeah, I mean, I think it's a lot down to him that I'm still playing. Forget about even playing at this level, that I'm still playing and being able to move around, is a lot down to him. Also, like you mentioned, the nutrition bit. Over the last 3 years, I've really kind of focused my energies towards eating the right things at the right time, especially in terms of attaining the state in which I can give my best performance, but also in terms of recovering from hard sessions, hard matches, so that I can back it up the next day. Because you can do the hardest session over 1 or 2 days, but then if you don't recover, then your body's not going to be able to go again. And the whole idea is to be able to go hard for consistent periods of time, which is when it kind of builds up, and small kind of, it's like almost like small building blocks to make a massive palace, right? So I think all those things put together have made a huge difference to my game and to my physicality. And yeah, and I'm proud to say that I'm probably one of the best physically around the world, in the squash world. And that has a lot to do with these people around me, and what they bring to my team. And of course, at the end of the day, you got to work hard, and that's what I try to do as best I can.
Saurav, I'll give you an example also for the benefit of our viewers to understand. I mean, in cricket, which is a game watched by so many of us, there was a time when there were players like Arjuna Ranatunga who would not even run while taking a run. He would saunter across, take a walk. And then Virat Kohli completely redefined fitness with the yo-yo test, with him cutting down brutally on his size, on his fitness. And there was a paradigm shift after that. And he set the benchmark. Then the yo-yo test came in squash. In your fitness, is there any kind of benchmark? Is there any regimen you follow, which you when you are mentoring the youngsters, you encourage them to also follow suit?
See, look, I think there are different players around the world train differently. So I wouldn't say that there is one uniform test like the yo-yo test, which is used in cricket, which measures someone's physicality as best possible. So some people do 400-meter sprint intervals. I think the hardest session that I do is probably a hill sprint interval, which is basically like the hill sprint is like about 45 to 50 seconds, but it's flat out, and then you're on a rolling like 3.5 minute clock, and then you go back again, and basically just trying to keep the time within a certain amount, so that you can keep going again and again. And I think that's probably the hardest one that I do. But yeah, I mean, there are a lot of things, and it's you have to like understand that there are a lot of different components to being physically very good. I think doing stuff in the gym in terms of strength training, you have to be very good at that, because you need that to be able to stabilize yourself when you're going very quickly, and then to hit the ball and then come back. So it's not just important to go from A to B, but it's very important to go from A to B and then back to A, so that you don't expose yourself in terms of empty spaces on the court. There are things to do in terms of speed. So there's a lot of cone work and ladder work that we do to have not just the speed, but also like the efficiency of movement, and coordination of your movement. I think those things are important, and sometimes a lot of players don't give enough importance to that, the efficiency and the coordination, because as you can make it as smooth as possible, you're going to move a lot better and hence expend lesser energy. So you might look at doing it like really quickly, but if you're not doing it efficiently and smoothly, then over a period of time you're going to get really tired and break down. So I think that efficiency and smoothness is something that sometimes people overlook. So yeah, so I wouldn't say that there's a single test. There are a few things which a few people do, but I think overall, you're the best judge of where you're at. Everyone plays differently. I think everyone's games are tailored differently. So you kind of need to understand what you need to do to be able to play the game that you want to play in the best way possible for the longest period of time during a match and a tournament.
Let me take you to a couple of specifics. For example, in the 2022 CWG games at Birmingham, you beat James Willstrop for the bronze. Now, his father had coached you for several years, and you trained with James also. What was that experience like, and was there a problem beating him?
I mean, I think that is one of the hardest matches that I've ever played in my career. Obviously losing the semi-final the day before against Paul Call, who went on to win the gold, that was hard. It is a disappointment, and then to kind of like mentally and physically like rev yourself up again for a bronze medal playoff is not easy, anyways. And then to play James for it, he's someone that I have learned so much from. His father Malcolm Willstrop. I am the professional player I am because of all the work that he did with me over all those years. And it was almost like Malcolm was like the theory and James was the practical demonstration of it. And without almost the two of them in tandem, it would have been very difficult for me to understand and inculcate exactly what Malcolm wanted me to do. And James and me are great friends, off the court as well. We share so many hotel rooms on the professional tour. He's one of the nicest human beings, forget squash players, that I know. And he's a brilliant, brilliant person. And he's obviously at the tail end of his career now, and I'm actually um, training with him now in terms of he's coaching me a lot as well since the beginning of this year. But no, I think the difficult part was to be able to kind of like zone my head in and focus on the things that I needed to do. And also knowing that James is such a fantastic player. He was a defending Commonwealth Games champion from 2018. He's a former world number one, and it can't get tougher than that. And I think I'm very, very proud that that day the squash that I produced, considering the circumstances, is one of the best performances that I've ever produced in my career. I couldn't even have dreamt of what transpired that day in terms of me winning 3 love. Even in the visualizations in my head, 3 love didn't exist. It was 3-1 or 3-2 with me winning, and going through a lot of pain, and somehow finding a way and getting out squashed in a lot of ways because James was one of the best squash players in the world. So I mean, that was something that like it was almost unbelievable. And to do it in that kind of context and the Commonwealth Games with winning India's first individual medal ever at the Commonwealth Games in squash. And for me, it's been a chase for a long time. I've had a realistic shot at a individual medal since 2014. I came close in 2014, lost the bronze medal playoff to Peter Barker of England. And then 2018 was a big letdown because I trained really well, but I lost my first match, which was a complete shock. And it was one of those moments in your career where I kind of felt that maybe I'm done. This is not for me, and I can't do what I need to do at the very top. And I was very, very close to walking away. And then to do it in 2023, 22 last year was it was very, very emotional, very overwhelming, and yeah, it was very difficult. But I mean, to answer the latter part of your question, no, it wasn't difficult after. Both of us, we've played each other a lot, and we respect each other a lot, and we respect that we have to go in there and try and do our best and win our matches. And James is a brilliant person, like I said, and we have the best relationship even today, and I'm very, very, very thankful and grateful for that relationship.
There was another moment at the Birmingham games, and I was watching it live. And this commentator, British commentator, he was somehow getting wound up by a certain ritual that you follow. You are sort of strapping your laces and putting the racket down. And he went on saying that Saurav has this, whether you call it superstition, whatever you may call it, and it was very amusing. At the same time, I found it very interesting. So, for you, is that a ritual or is it a superstition? What is it?
I actually think it's more of a ritual. I think it's like a trigger in my head, which kind of like says, okay, I'm going to play a point right now, or I'm going into a game right now, and I have to kind of like zone in and focus really hard to do the things that I've thought that I'm going to do and execute the plans and tactics and strategy that I need to do. So I think, yeah, I mean, I definitely accept that it is a bit elaborate, but it's something that has been with me ever since I've been a junior, and it doesn't come in the way of me producing my best squash. So I kind of figure that why not? Just keep it as it is.
I thoroughly enjoyed that. I also want to come down to this Asian Games and the way the India versus Pakistan, that match went. Those couple of games that went. I want to know from you that let's talk about India versus Pakistan in hockey, India versus Pakistan in cricket. There is always that jagged edge, more so in cricket. What was your experience playing against the Pakistani team, and is there camaraderie, bonhomie later or during the match? What are your thoughts?
Look, I think off the court, I think we get along pretty well with them. I think in their own right, they're pretty nice people, and we get along well with them. And I've had a good relationship with most of them over the years. Obviously, when we play, there's a lot of outside noise with India, Pakistan being there. There is an edge. I mean, I think it's difficult to run away from that. But yeah, I think the way I've approached it through my career, and I've felt that that works best for me, is to kind of try and detach from that noise, and just focus purely on small details of what you want to do on court. And I think leaving the emotion outside the court is something that works against them. I almost feel like when tensions rise and the emotions start flying, they actually play better. And if you can like detach from it and almost suck the tension out of the situation and make it very sterile, it kind of like like it doesn't give them like the adrenaline flow to kind of really go for it. And it helps you to be very clinical. And I think that's a very important word when we are playing Pakistan, that you have to be clinical. You have to be composed and clinical on the ball, and do the things at the right time. And if emotions are flying high, then it's very difficult to be able to do that. So yeah, so I think on the outside, of course, there is an edge. With everything that goes on between our countries, we definitely do want to win. But I think once we step onto court, the idea is to kind of like take that away, and like be very, very like composed and within yourself, and focus really hard on doing the things that you really need to do, and be very compact in the way you play, and most of the time that seemed to have worked through my career at least.
I read a couple of expert comments about your game, and they said that what you introduced to your game is that Zen-like calm. You are never ever flustered, and then your strategy kicks in. What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, it's something that I've worked on, very hard. I think through my career, I've probably had, some phases in matches where I've gone a bit weak, and then those have cost me. Those phases have cost me matches. And I felt, like over the last year and a half, I've done a good job, especially of eliminating those weak phases in matches, and being in that mode where I'm just kind of focusing on those tiny details of what I want to do, and clinically executing them, is almost like my way of fooling my head that this is what I'm doing, so I just focus on that, and then hence in the process, the weak phases have been eliminated to a great extent. So I think, like with anything in life, you have to find what kind of works for you personally, to be able to bring out your best squash, and that is what I feel brings out my best squash. The way I play as well is, I need to be able to create structure so that I can expose spaces on the court and hit into spaces and empty spaces. And I feel like the way I can do it, with my disposition, is by being in that kind of like calm and like way, and just focus on the things that I need to do. Of course, there is a lot of like determination and perseverance, and like really wanting to win, but not to show that on the outside, and not to engage with the opponent or the referee as much as maybe I did before.
A quick point I would want to get across, basically about the youngsters like Abhay, who got so emotive after he won, then Anahat, Mahesh, Ramit, Harinder, and you were constantly speaking with them. What is the kind of talent pool that India has, and where can it be taken when they figure in the next Olympics?
See, I think we've always had a lot of talent. It's a question of being able to translate the talent, into something tangible, at the senior level and at the world level. It's not easy to do. Obviously, Anahat Singh is the one now, right? Because she's 15 and she's done fantastically well. to be where she's at. And I genuinely believe that she has a lot of potential, because one of the big things I look at her is that she's mentally very strong. And then when I do look at her play, I feel like she genuinely enjoys playing. Like, I actually, get a lot of inspiration from that. I watch her play, and there's like a pure, unadulterated joy of getting onto court, and that's something that you sometimes lose after playing for so many years. And I kind of try and extract that from when I'm watching her play. But yeah, I think the important thing is, one, not to put an undue amount of pressure on her or anyone else who's coming up. I think they need to be guided in the right way with top people who know what it takes to succeed at the world level. And hopefully, they will persevere with it, and have the patience to perform at the highest level, and then do really, really well for India moving forward in the years to come.
Saurav, thank you very much for your time. I could go on and on. It's been a pleasure watching you on court, speaking with you, and we really, really hope that you are there in the Olympics when squash is part of it. And keep up with your fitness. And we wish you from Team NNIS all the very best. Good luck to you.
Thank you very much for having me. Take care.